Can you hear that background? That's those Canada geese flying around. They're everywhere, even down here. I guess I guess they're snowbirds too. Hey, aren't you getting a little bit close with that camera? Now that you've woke me up from my busy snowbird schedule of sun tanning and loafing, I guess I could show you a few things about Yuma down here. I could tell you a few things about Yuma, and I could show you a date farm tour that we went on that was really good. I got a few minutes here, but I got to play shuffleboard this afternoon, and then I got a pickleball game a little bit after that, and then I'm into a card tournament down here. But I'll start off and I'll tell you how getting down here can be a bit of a trial. Sometimes it's half the battle just getting here. One more thing before we continue. How about moving that camera out of my face? That's more like it. Keep your distance and we'll get along a whole lot better. Okay, let's take a look at Yuma. Let me first tell you how we got there. Like I said, I'm a snowbird sometimes, and snowbirds either drive or fly south. In my case, I drove, stayed along the highway at pullouts, truck stops, Walmart parking lots, and at the odd pay campground. Mine is the truck camper in the middle of these strangers, but also fellow snowbirds. I've driven a motorhome and pulled a trailer into snowbird country. My only advice is to keep a daily lookout at the weather and road conditions, because if you don't, you can live to regret it. This is a picture you don't really want in your scrapbook. I've got caught in some wicked snowstorms, sometimes even after I thought I was safe in snowbird country. Once past Vegas, we took our time following the Colorado River south. Maybe you've seen my other travelogues on some of the tourist towns along this route. One place we like to stop at is Parker. Parker is at the dam that creates the lake of another place we made a travelogue on, and that was Lake Havasu. But here at Parker, the land is rough and the river narrows. We usually try to stay at the modern Indian casino there. It has an adjacent popular movie theater, and the casino lounge has a full wall-sized TV screen where we like to watch some National Football League playoff games. It is about in here where you start to see the packed RV parks. From here south, it is for sure snowbird heaven. It's time to settle down and settle in and enjoy the winter, snowbird style like. Let's take a quick look at some downtown Yuma, and then we'll go just outside the city and tour a date farm. There were some celebrations going on downtown when we were there. Lots of Spanish music and dance. The hit of the day were these kids and their musically talented family. This grade 5 girl was particularly talented, playing a guitar and this accordion, and singing songs at ease in both Spanish and English. On a less enjoyable note, Yuma was the site of the territorial prison for many years. Today, it is a tourist attraction. It was the center of many evil stories of hardship, deceit, and criminal activity as mankind approached the lowest level of human interaction. The river here was a more shallow and narrower part of the river, making river crossings easier and safer. Yuma Crossing, as it was called throughout historical times, was known to early Indian groups in prehistoric times and later by the Spanish. The famous Spanish conquistador, Juan Bautista de Anza, crossed here on his way with a large wagon train of settlers and continued on to the Pacific, where he founded a colony they called San Francisco. Most American date production occurs in the Sonoran Desert here, which is in southern Arizona and also in California. These trees are watered mainly by water wells. They'll grow to over 20 meters tall. And depending on the plant type and soil and weather conditions, they'll take anywhere from 4 to 8 years from planting to bearing fruit. This area here has the kind of soil and climate that enables a worthwhile commercial production, which is, a deep, sandy loam type soil that can drain easily but will still hold moisture. Also, there is little to no calcium carbonate in the soil, something that is essential for good date tree growth. And the climate is right, high temperatures and low rainfall. I might be drinking coffee right now, and it's good. But I'll tell you something that's better to drink, and that's a date shake. You can't beat them. They're unbelievably good. And, my experience with a date shake is the first one is just so good you can't get enough of it, and you slurp it right down. And then you order a second one, and it's still pretty good. But you feel that you've had enough after two big date shakes. And then you order that third one. And I just find for me that third one, it's so sweet that I got to take a break. I've had enough, no more. So then tomorrow comes, same thing over again. You can't get enough of that first one. You cool off in the second, and you've had enough by the time you're halfway through the third. Anyway, that's my experience. But if you're down here, you got to try to take one of those date shakes and drink it down. This is one of those nice thick date shakes we've been talking about. It's as good as that cactus in the background is bad. Love one and avoid the other. We took a date farm tour and got to ride behind this tractor on a trip through the date trees. This young guy who gave us the tour owned the big date farm with his parents, and he was an absolute expert on dates. He was a dual Mexican-American citizen, owned land on both sides of the border, and had extensive contracts in both the U.S. and international contacts around the world. The farm labor is intensive because a lot of it must be done by hand. Each tree is individually watered by the water well-based irrigation system. The first dates were brought over to the New World by the Spanish, and many centuries before, people had grown them in the Middle East and in Asia. And about the turn of the century, they brought over about 75 shoots into the Texas area, and all 75 of those shoots died. The climate and the soil just wasn't right wherever they planted them. But about the 1950s, they brought the dates into the Yuma area, and this area, the Sonoran Desert region, grows all of the dates today that is produced in the United States. U.S. Date production really took off about 1927 when the popular medjool date offshoots were brought in from Morocco. These shoots were planted in the Yuma area in the 1950s, and these bigger and higher sugar dates soon became the preferred date. Like I said, manual labor is required in all types of agricultural production. Every part of these trees' bark must be cut or sawed off. New shoots, like you can see here, continually grow and must be cut. The labor source comes from Mexico, and many workers move back and forth across the border every day. Probably, you know, the greatest challenge for date production in the U.S. today is this thing called urbanization. The real estate people are taking over everything as we humans expand. Farmland is getting more scarce. They've got big money and they offer the farmers that money and they sell out. And what was a date farm at one time is now a shopping mall and streets and buildings. The other thing is a lot of the trees are getting older. It's very expensive to replace them. And, of course, there's the demand for not date growing from the trees, but just for landscaping. Everybody wants to have a palm tree in their backyard, I guess. And they even decorate that with the Christmas decorations the year round. So the urbanization pressure of taking over the land and landscaping is a real challenge to the date farming production industry today. All right, that's that travelogue. We saw some of the area down here in Yuma, so give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and we can bring you more travelogues, and we're going to do more down here in the Yuma area.